Marcus Langston was a name that commanded respect. At just 42 years old, he had built an empire worth billions. His sleek suits, luxurious cars, and sprawling mansions were the stuff of legends. People admired him not only for his wealth, but also for his sharp mind and relentless drive. Yet, despite all the success, Marcus carried a secret burden. His heart belonged to someone who no longer wanted him. Amara Johnson wasn't like the other women in Marcus' life. She wasn't dazzled by his money or impressed by his fame. Instead, she saw through the polished facade to the man beneath, a man who worked tirelessly because he feared failure, who avoided emotional conversations because vulnerability scared him, and who often let work consume him because it was easier than facing his own insecurities. Amara had been the one constant source of stability in Marcus' chaotic world. Her warmth, intelligence, and unwavering strength made her stand out. For years, their relationship thrived on mutual respect and deep affection. But over time, cracks began to form. Marcus became so consumed with his business ventures that he started missing important moments in Amara's life. Birthdays passed without celebration, anniversaries were forgotten, and even casual dinners turned into rare occurrences. Amara tried to be patient, reminding herself that Marcus loved her in his own way. But patience has its limits, and eventually, resentment crept in. It wasn't just about the missed dates or forgotten promises. It was the feeling of being invisible. When they were together, Marcus would often check his phone during meals or excuse himself to take calls. He rarely asked about Amara's day or showed interest in her dreams and struggles. To make matters worse, Marcus dismissed her concerns whenever she brought them up. "You know how busy I am," he'd say dismissively, as if his schedule justified everything. For Amara, the breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday evening. She had spent weeks preparing for a major presentation at work, a project she poured her heart into. It was something she had hoped to share with Marcus, hoping he'd celebrate her achievements the way she celebrated his. But when she called him after the meeting, expecting excitement and pride, all she got was silence. "I'm in the middle of something right now," Marcus said, barely paying attention. "Can we talk later?" That night, Amara sat alone in her apartment, staring at the raindrops sliding down her window pane. She thought about all the times she had put Marcus first, sacrificing her own needs for the sake of their relationship. She thought about the countless nights she waited up for him, only to fall asleep alone. Most of all, she thought about the future, a future where she continued to play second fiddle to Marcus' ambitions. And then, she realized something painful but undeniable. She deserved better. The next morning, Amara packed a small bag and drove to Marcus' penthouse. Her hands trembled as she knocked on the door, but her voice was steady when he opened it. "We need to talk," she said simply. Inside, she laid everything on the line, the loneliness, the neglect, the feeling of being taken for granted. Marcus listened, stunned, as Amara spoke words he hadn't wanted to hear, but knew were true. "I can't keep doing this," Amara said finally, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, Marcus, but I can't live like this anymore." Marcus reached for her hand, desperate to fix things in that moment. "Please, Amara, give me another chance," he pleaded. But Amara shook her head. "It's too late," she whispered before walking out the door. In the days that followed, Marcus felt a void he couldn't fill. Money, power, and success suddenly seemed meaningless without Amara by his side. For the first time in his life, he realized what truly mattered, and it terrified him. He had lost the one person who made him feel whole, and there was nothing he could do to bring her back, yet. Little did Marcus know, this painful chapter would become the catalyst for the greatest transformation of his life. After Amara walked out of his life, Marcus Langston found himself in unfamiliar territory, silence. The bustling energy of boardroom meetings, the constant ringing of phones, and the whirlwind of deadlines that once defined his existence now felt hollow. For weeks, he wandered aimlessly through his penthouse, a sprawling space filled with luxury but devoid of warmth. Without Amara, it felt more like a prison than a home. At first, Marcus tried to distract himself with work. He threw himself into new projects, signed deals, and attended high-profile events. But no matter how many contracts he sealed or accolades he earned, the emptiness inside him refused to go away. Late at night, when the world outside his window went quiet, Marcus couldn't escape the truth. He had lost the one person who truly mattered. One evening, while flipping through channels on TV, Marcus stumbled upon a documentary about mental health. One segment featured a therapist discussing the importance of self-awareness and emotional growth. Something about the words resonated with him. That night, for the first time in years, Marcus allowed himself to confront the pain he had buried deep within. He realized that losing Amara wasn't just about her leaving. It was about the man he had become, a man too afraid to be vulnerable, too consumed by control, and too disconnected from his own emotions. The next morning, Marcus made a decision that surprised even himself. He picked up the phone and scheduled an appointment with a therapist. It wasn't easy for someone like Marcus, who had spent most of his life projecting strength and invincibility. Walking into the small, cozy office for his first session felt strange, almost uncomfortable. But as he sat across from Dr. Alina Carter, a kind-eyed woman with a calming presence, Marcus began opening up about his childhood, the strict father who demanded perfection, the mother who worked tirelessly to keep the family afloat, and the loneliness that followed him into adulthood. Through therapy, Marcus uncovered patterns in his behavior. He learned that his obsession with work stemmed from a fear of failure, a fear instilled by his father's harsh criticism. He also realized that his inability to express emotions came from never having seen vulnerability modeled in his own family. These revelations were painful, but they gave Marcus clarity. For the first time, he understood why he had pushed Amara away and why he struggled to maintain meaningful relationships. Determined to change, Marcus didn't stop at therapy. He began reading books on personal growth, attending workshops, and practicing mindfulness techniques. He started journaling every night, writing down his thoughts and feelings instead of bottling them up. Slowly but surely, he began reconnecting with parts of himself he had long ignored. As Marcus worked on healing internally, he also sought ways to contribute positively to the world around him. Inspired by Amara's passion for social justice, he started volunteering at a local community center. There, he mentored young entrepreneurs, sharing his knowledge and experiences while learning from their fresh perspectives. The joy he felt helping others reminded him of the fulfillment Amara often spoke about when working on her nonprofit projects. Marcus also made changes in his daily routine. He traded late-night business calls for early morning walks in the park, where he could clear his mind and reflect. He cut back on unnecessary meetings and delegated tasks to his team, giving himself permission to slow down. Though these adjustments seemed small, they marked the beginning of a profound transformation. By the end of 6 months, Marcus hardly recognized the man he used to be. Gone was the arrogant billionaire obsessed with power and control. In his place stood someone humbler, kinder, and more grounded. While he still missed Amara deeply, Marcus knew he wasn't ready to reach out to her, not yet. He wanted to prove to himself that his growth was genuine before attempting to win her back. One day, as Marcus flipped through photos on his phone, he paused at a picture of Amara laughing during one of their rare vacations together. Her smile lit up the screen, and for the first time in months, Marcus smiled back. "I'm going to be the man you deserve," he whispered to the image. "Even if it takes me the rest of my life." Unbeknownst to Marcus, his journey towards self-improvement would set the stage for a second chance. One he hadn't dared to hope for but desperately wanted. Months passed, and Marcus Langston continued to focus on becoming a better version of himself. He no longer saw his transformation as just a way to win Amara back. It had become a journey of self-discovery. But even as he embraced this new chapter in his life, thoughts of Amara lingered like an unspoken melody in the background. She was the reason he had started this path, and deep down, Marcus hoped their paths would cross again someday. That day came sooner than he expected. It was a crisp autumn evening when Marcus received an invitation to a charity gala hosted by a prominent nonprofit organization. The event aimed to raise funds for underprivileged women seeking education and career opportunities, a cause close to Marcus' heart since he began volunteering at the community center. As he dressed in his tailored suit, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something significant awaited him that night. The ballroom buzzed with energy as guests mingled, sipping champagne and admiring the elegant decor. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light over tables adorned with white roses, while a string quartet played classical music in the corner. Marcus scanned the room, nodding politely at familiar faces, but keeping mostly to himself. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted her, Amara. She stood near the stage, talking animatedly with a group of attendees. Her natural charisma lit up the room, drawing people toward her effortlessly. She wore a stunning emerald green gown that hugged her figure perfectly, and her radiant smile made Marcus' breath catch in his throat. It had been nearly a year since he last saw her, but time hadn't dimmed her beauty or presence. If anything, she seemed even more confident, more radiant than before. Marcus hesitated, unsure if approaching her was the right move. What would she think of him? Would she be angry? Indifferent? Or worse, would she refuse to acknowledge him altogether? His heart raced as he weighed his options. Finally, gathering every ounce of courage he could muster, Marcus walked toward her. "Amara," he said softly, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. She turned, startled at first, then visibly surprised as her eyes met his. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt heavy with unsaid words and memories. "Marcus," Amara replied cautiously, her tone neutral. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I know," Marcus admitted, offering a small, nervous smile. "I wasn't sure I'd see you either. You look amazing." Amara tilted her head slightly, studying him with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Thank you," she said after a pause. "You seem different." Her observation caught Marcus off guard, but he nodded slowly. "I am," he confessed. "A lot has changed since we last spoke." Before he could say more, one of Amara's colleagues interrupted, pulling her back into conversation. Reluctantly, Marcus stepped aside, giving her space. As much as he wanted to explain everything, to tell her how sorry he was and how hard he worked to change, he knew this wasn't the time or place. Instead, he watched from afar, marveling at how effortlessly she commanded attention and admiration. Over the course of the evening, Marcus observed Amara closely. She gave a powerful speech about the importance of empowering women and creating equal opportunities. Her passion was palpable, inspiring everyone in the room, including Marcus. He realized how much he missed not only her warmth, but also her drive and determination. Watching her now reminded him why he fell in love with her in the first place. When the event ended, Marcus debated whether to approach her again. Just as he decided against it, Amara spotted him standing near the exit. To his surprise, she walked over, her expression unreadable. "I heard some of the changes you've made recently," she said quietly. "People are talking about your work at the community center. I'm glad you're using your resources to help others." Marcus swallowed hard, touched that she noticed. "Thank you," he replied sincerely. "It's something I should have done a long time ago." They stood there for a moment, the silence stretching between them. Finally, Amara broke it. "Good night, Marcus," she said softly, turning to leave. "Good night, Amara," he whispered, watching her walk away once more. Though their encounter was brief, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. Amara hadn't shut him out completely, not yet. Maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance to rebuild what they had lost. After their unexpected meeting at the charity gala, Marcus Langston couldn't stop thinking about Amara. Her words replayed in his mind, how she acknowledged his efforts at the community center, and how her tone carried a hint of curiosity rather than outright rejection. For Marcus, it was a small but meaningful victory. It told him that Amara hadn't completely closed the door on him. Now, he had to figure out how to step through it without overwhelming her. Marcus knew grand gestures wouldn't work, not yet. Amara wasn't someone who could be swayed by flashy displays or expensive gifts. She valued authenticity and sincerity above all else. So, instead of rushing into dramatic declarations, Marcus decided to show her how much he cared through small, thoughtful actions. He wanted these gestures to speak louder than any apology or promise ever could. The first step came when Marcus learned about a funding shortfall at Amara's nonprofit organization. The program aimed to provide scholarships for young women pursuing careers in STEM fields, a cause Amara had championed passionately. Without hesitation, Marcus donated a substantial amount anonymously. He didn't want recognition. He simply wanted to support her mission. When Amara received news of the donation, she was surprised and grateful, but she had no idea where it came from. A few weeks later, Amara found an envelope slipped under her office door. Inside was a handwritten letter. The elegant handwriting immediately caught her attention. Dear Amara, I know I can't undo the past, but I want you to know how much I admire your strength and dedication. You inspire so many people, including me. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Amara read the note several times, her heart stirring with conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to dismiss it as another attempt to win her over, but another part recognized the effort behind it. This wasn't the same Marcus who once ignored her feelings. His words felt genuine, almost vulnerable. Determined to continue showing his commitment, Marcus kept finding ways to make Amara's life easier. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Amara's car broke down on a deserted road late at night. Stranded and frustrated, she called a tow truck service, expecting to wait hours for help. To her astonishment, a sleek black SUV pulled up within minutes. A driver stepped out and handed her a set of keys along with a note. Asterisk, you deserve only the best. Please accept this loaner vehicle until yours is fixed. Asterisk. Inside the SUV, Amara discovered a bouquet of her favorite flowers, sunflowers, and a playlist loaded with songs they used to listen to together. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized the level of thoughtfulness behind the gesture. No one had ever gone to such lengths for her before. Despite her growing appreciation for Marcus' efforts, Amara remained cautious. She confided in her best friend, Tasha, about the recent events. He's doing everything right, Amara admitted one afternoon over coffee. But I don't know if I can trust him again. What if this is just temporary? What if he goes back to his old ways? Tasha nodded sympathetically. I get it, she said. But haven't you noticed how different he seems? Maybe he really has changed. Amara sighed. Maybe, but change takes time, and I need more than just nice cars and letters. Marcus understood this too. He wasn't asking for forgiveness overnight. Every act of kindness was his way of proving that he was willing to put in the work, not just for her sake but for his own growth as well. Even when Amara didn't respond directly to his gestures, Marcus stayed consistent. He sent encouraging texts after hearing about her stressful days, ensured her favorite coffee shop delivered treats during busy mornings, and attended events she organized, always staying in the background to avoid drawing attention. One rainy Saturday morning, Amara woke up to find a package outside her door. Inside was a beautifully crafted journal embossed with her initials. On the first page, Marcus had written, Asterisk, for all the dreams you're chasing and the battles you've already won. Keep shining, Amara, you're extraordinary. Asterisk. This time, Amara allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. Sitting alone in her living room, she traced her fingers over the words, feeling a mix of gratitude and longing. While she still wrestled with doubts about reopening her heart to Marcus, she couldn't deny the sincerity behind his actions. Each gesture reminded her of the man she once loved, the man who seemed determined to return. Unbeknownst to both of them, these small moments were laying the foundation for something bigger. Though neither could predict what the future held, one thing was clear. Marcus was slowly rebuilding the bridge between them, one heartfelt action at a time. Marcus Langston had spent months proving himself through small, meaningful actions. He knew these gestures were helping to rebuild trust with Amara, but he also understood that they might not be enough. If he truly wanted to show her how much she meant to him, it was time for something bigger, something unforgettable, something that would speak directly to her heart and leave no doubt about his intentions. The idea came to him during one of his quiet mornings at the community center. As he watched young women participating in workshops and sharing their dreams, Marcus thought about what inspired Amara most: her love for culture, creativity, and empowerment. What if he could create an experience that celebrated not only her but everything she stood for? It wouldn't just be about winning her back, it would be about honoring the person she was and the impact she had on the world. With this vision in mind, Marcus got to work. He rented out an entire art gallery downtown, transforming it into a stunning tribute to Black culture and resilience. Every detail was carefully planned. The vibrant paintings, sculptures, and photographs showcased the beauty, strength, and diversity of Black voices. The centerpiece of the exhibit was a breathtaking portrait of Amara herself, painted by a renowned artist Marcus had personally commissioned. The artwork captured her essence perfectly, confident, radiant, and full of purpose. To ensure the event felt authentic and personal, Marcus collaborated with local artists and activists. He invited speakers who shared stories of overcoming adversity and championing equality. He even arranged for performances by poets, musicians, and dancers whose work embodied the spirit of empowerment Amara cherished so deeply. By the time everything was ready, The gallery looked less like a traditional exhibition and more like a celebration of life, love, and legacy. When the night of the event arrived, Marcus sent Amara an invitation under the pretense of discussing potential partnerships between her nonprofit and his foundation. Curious but unsuspecting, Amara accepted. Dressed in a sleek navy blue dress, she arrived at the gallery, expecting a formal meeting. Instead, she stepped into a space filled with warmth, color, and energy. As Amara wandered through the exhibits, her breath caught in her throat. Each piece resonated with her on a profound level, reminding her of the values she held dear. She paused in front of a painting depicting a mother teaching her child to read, tears welling up in her eyes as memories of her own childhood flooded back. Then she turned a corner and froze. There, illuminated by soft lighting, stood the massive portrait of her. Her likeness was striking, yet it wasn't just her physical appearance that captivated her. The painting seemed to capture her soul, the fire in her eyes, the determination in her posture, the grace in her smile. For a moment, Amara forgot how to breathe. "Do you like it?" Marcus' voice broke the silence behind her. Amara spun around, startled. Marcus stood there, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, holding a single red rose. His expression was nervous but hopeful, his eyes locked onto hers. This is incredible," Amara stammered, gesturing toward the portrait. "But why did you do all this?" Marcus took a step closer, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "Because I wanted to show you how much I see you, Amara, not just your beauty, but your strength, your passion, your brilliance. You've always been my inspiration, and I needed you to know that." He paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "I know I messed up. I let fear and selfishness come between us, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But I'm not the same man anymore. I've worked hard to become someone worthy of your love. Not because I expect anything from you, but because I owe it to myself to be better. And if there's even the smallest chance you consider giving me another shot, I promise I'll spend every day making sure you never regret it." Tears streamed down Amara's face as she listened. She had spent so long guarding her heart, afraid to let Marcus back in, but standing there, surrounded by art that celebrated everything she believed in, with Marcus pouring his heart out in front of her, it was impossible to deny the sincerity in his words. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Amara whispered, "This is overwhelming." "I know," Marcus replied softly, "and I don't expect an answer tonight. All I want is for you to know how much you mean to me. That's all that matters." As the evening unfolded, Amara found herself smiling despite the storm of emotion swirling within her. Whether or not she was ready to forgive Marcus completely, one thing was certain: he had proven that he was willing to go to extraordinary lengths to show her he cared. And maybe, just maybe, that was a start. After weeks of uncertainty, Amara finally decided to take a step forward. She realized that staying stuck in doubt and fear wouldn't solve anything. If she truly wanted closure, whether it meant moving on or giving Marcus another chance, she needed to confront her feelings head-on. So one evening, after much deliberation, she called Marcus. "Can we meet?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with nervousness. Marcus was surprised but didn't hesitate. "Of course," he replied. "Wherever you want." They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near the park, a neutral place where they could talk openly without distractions. When Amara arrived, "Thank you for coming," he said softly. Amara nodded, taking a seat across from him. For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them felt heavy yet charged with unspoken emotions. Finally, Amara broke the silence. "I've been thinking a lot about everything," she began, choosing her words carefully. "About us, about what happened before, and about now." Marcus leaned forward slightly, his eyes locked onto hers. "I'm listening," he said earnestly. Amara took a deep breath. "You've done so much to show me you've changed, donating to my nonprofit, sending those letters, even organizing that gallery event. It's all beautiful, and I appreciate it. But gestures alone aren't enough, Marcus. Trust isn't built overnight. We have history, and the history still hurts." Marcus nodded slowly, his expression pensive. "I know," he admitted. "I can't erase the past or undo the pain I caused. All I can do is prove that I'm willing to work for your trust every single day. That's why I suggested couples counseling. I think it could help us address the issues we never resolved before. Amara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Counseling? Yes, Marcus continued. If you're open to it, I'd like us to go together. Not because I think either of us is broken, but because I believe it'll give us tools to communicate better and understand each other more deeply. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. For a moment, Amara considered his proposal. Therapy wasn't something she had expected from Marcus. The old Marcus would have dismissed such an idea outright. But this new version of him seemed genuinely committed to growth. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, she said quietly. Let's try. Over the next few months, Marcus and Amara attended weekly counseling sessions. At first, the conversations were difficult. Old wounds resurfaced, and uncomfortable truths came to light. Amara shared how neglected she had felt during their relationship, while Marcus opened up about his fears of vulnerability and failure. There were moments when tempers flared and tears flowed, but both remained steadfast in their commitment to healing. Outside of therapy, Marcus continued making changes to prioritize Amara. He stepped down as CEO of his company, delegating responsibilities to trusted executives so he could focus on their relationship. He joined her at community events, not just as a spectator, but as an active participant, volunteering alongside her and learning about the causes she cared about. Together, they visited schools and shelters, planting seeds of hope in communities that needed it most. Amara noticed these efforts and began to soften, though she still guarded her heart. She couldn't ignore the consistency in Marcus' actions. One evening, after attending a charity dinner together, she turned to him and said, "You really are different, aren't you?" Marcus smiled faintly. "I hope so," he replied. "But I know it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up for you, for us, and doing the work no matter how hard it gets." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. They laughed more, argued less, and learned to navigate challenges as a team. Marcus made a point to ask about Amara's day, actively listening instead of zoning out. In return, Amara found herself opening up to him again, sharing her dreams and fears without reservation. One night, as they strolled through the park under a canopy of stars, Amara stopped suddenly and looked at Marcus. "Do you remember the last time we walked here?" she asked. Marcus thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, it was right before everything fell apart." Amara sighed, her gaze softening. "I used to feel like I was losing you back then, like no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reach you. But now," she paused, searching for the right words. "Now, I feel like I'm getting you back, the real you." Tears welled up in Marcus' eyes as he pulled her into a gentle embrace. "I'm sorry for making you feel that way," he whispered. "And thank you for giving me another chance. I won't waste it." Though their journey wasn't over, they both knew they were on the right path. Trust wasn't fully restored, but it was growing. One honest conversation, one shared moment, one heartfelt promise at a time. Years passed, and the bond between Marcus Langston and Amara Johnson grew stronger with each passing day. What had started as a fragile attempt to rebuild trust blossomed into something deeper, a love rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and unwavering commitment. Their journey hadn't been easy, but every challenge they faced only strengthened their connection. On a crisp spring morning, Marcus stood nervously outside his estate, adjusting his tie for what felt like the 100th time. Today was the day, the culmination of all the hard work, sacrifices, and growth they had experienced together. It was their wedding day. The garden was transformed into a breathtaking scene of elegance and warmth. White rose petals lined the aisle, and strings of fairy lights twinkled above like stars. Friends, family, and supporters gathered under a flower-adorned arch, eagerly awaiting the arrival of the bride. Marcus scanned the crowd, his heart swelling with gratitude. This moment wasn't just about him and Amara. It was about everyone who had supported them along the way. As the soft notes of a violin began to play, all eyes turned toward the entrance. Amara appeared, radiant in a flowing ivory gown that seemed to glow against her skin. Her smile lit up the entire space, and when her gaze met Marcus, he felt his breath catch in his throat. She walked down the aisle hand in hand with her father, who placed her gently into Marcus' care at the altar. Standing face to face, they exchanged vows filled with honesty and love. "Amara," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the emotion welling up inside him, "you taught me how to be better, not just for you, but for myself. You saw through my flaws and believed in me even when I didn't deserve it. Today, I promise to honor your strength, cherish your kindness, and stand by your side no matter what life brings." Tears streamed down Amara's face as she responded. "Marcus, losing you once broke my heart, but finding you again gave me hope. You've shown me that true love requires effort, patience, and vulnerability. I promise to support you, challenge you, and love you fiercely for the rest of our lives." When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the crowd erupted in applause. Marcus pulled Amara close, kissing her tenderly as if the world around them faded away. In that moment, nothing else mattered. They were finally whole. At the reception, laughter and joy filled the air. Guests shared stories of Marcus and Amara's journey, marveling at how far they had come. During his speech, Marcus joked, "Losing Amara was the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced me to become the man she deserved." The room erupted in cheers, and Amara smiled, knowing he meant every word. After the festivities ended, Marcus and Amara stood together on the balcony overlooking the garden, holding hands as the sun dipped below the horizon. "Do you remember that rainy night when I left your apartment?" Amara asked softly. Marcus nodded. "How could I forget? That was the lowest point of my life." "And now look where we are," Amara said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It feels surreal." "It does," Marcus agreed. "But one thing hasn't changed. I still can't imagine my life without you." They stood there in silence, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. For Marcus and Amara, this wasn't just the end of their journey to find each other again. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Together, they vowed to continue making a difference in the world, using their love as a foundation for change. Whether mentoring young entrepreneurs, advocating for social justice, or simply enjoying quiet moments together, they knew their partnership was built to last. In the years that followed, Marcus often reflected on the events that brought them here. Losing Amara had been painful, but it had also been transformative. He realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about growth, forgiveness, and choosing each other every single day. And as he watched Amara laugh with friends or speak passionately about her nonprofit, he knew he had found not just a partner but a soulmate. For Amara, marrying Marcus wasn't just about reclaiming the man she loved. It was about embracing the person he had become. She admired his humility, appreciated his dedication, and cherished the way he made her feel seen and valued. Their relationship was proof that second chances were possible when two people were willing to fight for each other. As they danced under the stars that night, surrounded by loved ones, Marcus whispered into Amara's ear, "Thank you for believing in us." Amara smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "Always," she replied. And in that moment, they both knew their love would endure anything, because it was a love like no other. The grand gesture at the art gallery had left Amara Johnson overwhelmed with emotions. On one hand, she couldn't deny how deeply Marcus' efforts had touched her. The exhibit was thoughtful, personal, and aligned perfectly with everything she valued. It felt like he truly understood her soul. But on the other hand, doubt lingered in the corners of her mind, whispering warnings about the risks of trusting him again. Amara's friends and family weren't shy about sharing their concerns. When she told Tasha, her best friend, about the event, Tasha listened quietly before speaking her mind. "I get it. He went all out. It's romantic, I'll give him that. But Amara, don't forget what happened last time. He broke your heart once. What makes you think he won't do it again?" Her words struck a nerve. Deep down, Amara knew Tasha was right. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight, no matter how many portraits or letters Marcus sent. Still, she found herself defending him. "He's different now," she said hesitantly. "He's putting in the effort. You didn't see him at the gallery. He was vulnerable, sincere. It felt real." Tasha raised an eyebrow. "And what happens when life gets busy again? When his company needs him or some big deal comes up? Are you ready to go through that cycle again?" Amara didn't have an answer. Her mind was torn between hope and fear. She wanted to believe in Marcus' transformation, but the scars from their past relationship ran deep. Every late-night phone call he missed, every birthday forgotten, every moment she felt invisible, it all replayed in her head, making her question whether she could ever fully let him back in. Meanwhile, Marcus faced resistance from his peers. News of his extravagant gesture spread quickly. thanks to social media posts and gossip among mutual acquaintances. Some applauded his efforts, calling it a romantic redemption story. Others mocked him, labeling his actions as desperate or over the top. Among his business colleagues, whispers of disapproval circulated. Since when does Marcus Langston grovel for anyone? One colleague sneered during a lunch meeting. Another joked, "Guess money can't buy happiness after all." Marcus heard the comments but barely reacted. He had expected backlash. After all, billionaire tycoons weren't supposed to chase love. They were supposed to conquer it. Yet none of that mattered to him anymore. His focus was singular, proving to Amara that he was worth another chance. If that meant enduring ridicule or stepping out of his comfort zone, so be it. Despite the criticism, Marcus remained patient. He understood that Amara needed time to process everything, their history, his mistakes, and the new version of himself he was presenting. So, instead of pushing her for answers, he continued showing up in small, consistent ways. He attended events she organized, always staying in the background to avoid overshadowing her work. He sent texts checking in on her well-being without expecting replies. And when she mentioned wanting to expand her nonprofit's reach, he discreetly offered resources and connections to help make it happen. Amara noticed these ongoing efforts, and while part of her appreciated them, another part worried about becoming dependent on him again. She often reminded herself that independence was key, that she had built a fulfilling life without Marcus and didn't need him to complete her. Yet, there were moments when his presence felt comforting, almost natural, as if they had never been apart. One evening, while sitting alone on her balcony, Amara pulled out the journal Marcus had gifted her weeks earlier. Flipping through its pages, she realized she hadn't written in it yet. Grabbing a pen, she began jotting down her thoughts. Why is this so hard? Why can't I just decide yes or no? I know he's trying, I see it, feel it even. But trust isn't easy to rebuild. Love shouldn't have to come with conditions or doubts. And yet, I still care about him. Maybe too much. As she wrote, tears pricked her eyes. She hated feeling stuck between two extremes, the fear of repeating the past and the longing for what could be. She wished someone could tell her what to do, what choice would lead to happiness without pain. Unbeknownst to Amara, Marcus wrestled with similar uncertainties. Sitting in his quiet study, he stared at a photo of them together from happier times. What if she never forgives me? He whispered to himself. Then, shaking off the thought, he muttered, "No. I'll keep trying. Whatever it takes." Both Amara and Marcus were caught in limbo, unsure of where their story would lead next. But one thing was clear. Neither of them was ready to walk away, not yet. They were both willing to face doubt and resistance, knowing that true love required patience, sacrifice, and faith. Even if the road ahead was uncertain, they were determined to take it step by step, together.